All right, young scholars. So as part of this course objectives, we're supposed to go into some IT concepts. Because it's kind of boring and you grew up in an era where you already knew the majority of this stuff, it's not as important as it used to be. But I still touch on a few major things that you might already know as well. So we're going to touch on Moore's Law, software versus hardware, RAM, operating systems and processors, business impact on computing, programming, automation, disk space and bandwidth, IP addresses, RFID devices, GPS settings on websites, the future, open source, SEO, Web 2.0, and internet usage. How many of you are actual ITM majors? None of you? What's your major, unfortunate Drew? Finance, bits, or fintech? What about you, Leo?
Econ.
Econ? Johnny? Sports management? Drew? Accounting? Jackie?
PR.
Well, you're done in like a couple weeks, right?
No.
Oh, you're still in the spring?
Yeah.
Reeves, what are you?
Sports.
Sports management. So I teach a class called BITM 3730, developing web apps, only in the fall semester, where if you decided to take that and learn how to build websites, you would learn more about programming, GPS settings on websites, SEO, Web 2.0. But for now, this is just kind of an overview. Paul, have you ever heard of Moore's Law before? Yeah. Can you guys see this? Leo, like turn down the lights a little. See that there's like a button that's like circular over there? Perfect. Thank you. It sounds familiar. So who's heard of IBM? Nobody's heard of IBM? Just unfortunate Drew? Mike, you've heard of IBM? No, the rest of you have never heard of IBM. Malik has. Riley, you've never heard of IBM? So Mike, explain to Riley what IBM is. It's a tech company. So before companies like Dell and Apple and Lenovo, before these companies existed and made computers for you, 90% of computers, like when I was your age, were IBM. They were gigantic boxes, monitors with giant boxes underneath to put floppy drives in. And there was no internet back then. So basically a computer was just an advanced typewriter. So there was this guy that worked at IBM named Gordon Moore. And he came up with Moore's Law, which basically means that chip technology performance doubles every 2 years, but computer prices go down. So what does that mean? Chip technology performance. What is that? What does that mean? Anyone want to take a guess? So who has like your Seton Hall computer and then like a computer at home? Does it run as quickly as this? Probably not, right? Drew, it does? What? It runs quicker. Why? Because you built your own computer, okay? So it might have more RAM, as we'll touch on momentarily. Who else said they have a computer at home that runs slower? You don't know if it runs slower? You don't think so? Are they like around the same age? Okay, so that could be why. So these are kind of on the higher end, like $1,500 laptops that the college probably charges you $2,000 for. If you have like a, run of the mill, like $500, $400 laptop at home that you use, it probably doesn't have as much processing, probably doesn't have as much memory, RAM, storage. But every 2 years, it's more advanced. There's more involved with it. Think of it this way. What operating system do you guys have on these laptops? Probably Windows 10, right? So if you have a laptop that's running Windows 8.1, it's going to be running pretty slow, right? They're about to like literally get rid of providing any service to Windows 8.1 operating system, I think the end of January. But how can they do this? Basically, they're making the laptops or computers in general better, but the price goes down. How can that be? How can that be? Any guesses, Reeves? No? When you were a toddler, crawling around in like diapers at like 2 or 3, did you have a MacBook? No, you didn't? Do you like remember what your parents used as a computer? They weren't MacBooks. They probably didn't even have laptops. Yeah, they probably had like the tower sitting on the floor that was like this big and this wide with the like TV monitor on top of like a table, right? Who's heard of Charles Babbage? He invented the first computer. Back in the day, like 60 years ago, computers would be the entire size of like this hall. Then they got smaller and they would be the entire size of this room. And then they kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller to now literally we can throw them in a bag and have them with us whenever we want, right? Cost less to make them. So it costs less to you, right? Drew, you have an iPhone? Yes. So what do they come out with, a new one every year or every 2 years?
Every year.
Every year. So, a crappy one is what, 800, 900 bucks? Do you buy the new one every year? No? Back when I was your age, cell phones were just starting out, and they literally give you a phone to sign a 2-year contract. Now you pay for the phone for the most part, right? So you're not going to go pay $800, $900 every year for a new phone, right? Unless, you're inherently wealthy. So what do? How many years do you wait? Like 2, 3 before you go to a new one? Same thing with a laptop, personal computer, MacBook, whatever it may be. Say you get 4 or 5 years out of that, right? That's pretty good value for it, right? You may say, oh, I paid $1,500 for it. I got 5 years out of it. It only really cost me $300 a year. Then you get a new one. It may be the same price or a little lower, right? But you might be getting more storage or bang for your buck. Who uses probably unfortunate Drew? Who uses like a gaming laptop or computer? Paul? Did you design it yourself like unfortunate Drew, or you bought it? So those might be a little more just because you have a better graphics card, more memory. What's the difference between memory and storage? Anybody know? No? Paul?
Memories, like where you could.
Sort of. So memory, Suraj? Also sort of. So memory exists when you're live on your laptop. So, other than web browsers, you have to actually go in and delete your cache and history to get rid of that memory. So let's say, Riley's playing World of Warcraft on her laptop. While she's playing it, the memory is being used. Once she stops playing it or turns her laptop off, that memory is no longer in use. But if she like saves her progress, her game, whatever she's doing, that then uses the storage. And then she could turn her laptop back on, go back to play by opening up that stored version of her game. Does that make sense? So storage can always be in use. Memory is technically only in use while you're using something. So what's the difference between software and hardware? Austin? Basically, yes. So software that we've used in this class, Access, Excel. What else? You've used Word a little bit, right? You might have used like a text file, like WordPad, Notepad, the type stuff. What other software can you think of? Owen? PowerPoint, okay. So what do I mean when I say that hardware is embedded within a computer and can be upgraded? Any idea? What is an upgrade? Unfortunate truth. An update? No. What?
Physically replacing the.
Yes. So you said you made your computer, right? So let's say there's a RAM that came with the computer you bought, and it was 8 gigabytes. But that's not enough for you. You need 32 gigabytes. You'd go buy that RAM with 32 gigabytes and embed it, take the motherboard out of your laptop, put the 32 gigabyte RAM in, right? That's an upgrade. You may not like the graphics card. You go buy a better one. You take the old one out, you put the new one in, right? That's what an upgrade is. What do I mean by the software often requires a purchase license? Anybody know what that means? Nobody? So what's on your laptop? Software, right? So technically you got the Microsoft Office programs we use. If you have your Lenovo laptop, that's about, I think, $96 a year with Microsoft 365 these days. You pay for that as part of paying for your laptop. And once you graduate, you could still get access to it on a computer from your alumni benefits. But if you were to buy this yourself, what would you have to do? Who plays like video games like Xbox or PS4, PS5? Austin, what do you have to do if you want to play a game on there? You got to buy it. So it's the same thing with software programs for the most part. If Drew wants to play Johnny and Madden on a PS5, they both have to have the game, right? So they each pay the $60 for a license to play the game. Drew, you have a gaming computer? Or is that Paul? What are the games you guys play on it? Call of Duty? What do you play? Rust? What's Rust?
Like this, like,
Okay. And you had to buy the game to play it, right? Or is it like, what's that thing now? Steam? You like pay a subscription price? Just basically the same thing. If Mike wanted to download, are you an accounting major, did you say? No, what's your major? Okay. Who's an accounting major? I'll go with the easy one. Okay, so you want to download QuickBooks or something. You have to buy it and get a subscription, right? Same thing. Do you use specific programs in FinTech classes? No. Probably just Excel mainly. Really? Interesting. So what's RAM? What's the abbreviation for RAM stand for, Mike? Okay, what is it? Okay, what does that mean?
it's not just where it's stored.
Okay, you don't know what else? Why not? You're not a computer whiz? Have I required you to be so far? No. Drew, what do you think RAM is?
Some place to store.
Okay. That's all you got? Any other guesses? Albert? It can store codes. What is the example I gave about Riley playing the game on her laptop? It's in use when your computer's on and you're using it and playing it, right? There's also what's called ROM, R-O-M, which is read-only memory, which also plays along with the codes that may be read. So that's just reading the information it needs to open specific programs, websites, whatever you may be doing. Anybody ever used the Linux operating system? No. How about Android? Who's got an Android phone? Johnny's shaking his head like nobody does. Does anybody? No, you all have iPhones? Nobody's got an Android. Nobody. Allie, you have an Android? You have an iPhone? Leo, iPhone? Johnny, iPhone? Reeves? Of course. Jackie, iPhone? Drew, you have an iPhone, you said, right? Chris, what about you? Everybody's got an iPhone. So Android is basically, the other phone operating system. So like a Motorola phone would have Android. I think Google phones, they have their own operating system, but I never cared to look into what they are. Windows, what's Windows operating system? Most of you use it, right? iOS. None of you that use the iPhones know what iOS is? What is it, Owen? For the most part, yeah. And Ubuntu, what's Ubuntu? It's like Linux, it's a programming language you may use for certain programming, and basically, unless you're a computer science major, you won't see either of them unless you wanted to learn how to use them. So what do processors do, Leo? What's it say? Processors blank blank. Execute instructions. Who's ever played the game Simon Says? Just a couple of you? Riley, you've never played Simon Says? You have? Why didn't you raise your hand? You're ashamed that you play Simon Says? No? You liked it when you were younger. Let's play Simon Says. Oh, we don't have a Simon. Simon Says, raise your hat in the air if you have a hat. Simon Says, raise your hat in the air if you have a hat. What did they do, Riley? What? They followed the instructions, right? Simon Says. You would not say Simon Says, and you would just say to do something. And if they did it, they were out. But, that's instructions, right? So how would a processor execute instructions on your laptop? So Jackie, you're typing stuff right now, right? You were looking it up? But when you type on your laptop, what happens? It does what you do. So is it magic? You do it. The processor interprets what you're doing, and then you get an output. So in computer science, it's always input output. So you hit your keyboard, you're typing something. That's the input. The output, like let's say you're doing a Google search, is the results. The majority of the work is done by the processor through zeros and ones. So how many of you have like a little sticker in the bottom corner on your ThinkPads? What's it say, Owen? Okay. So one is for your graphics card, one is for your processor. JJ, do you have one? What's it say? Okay. Leo, what does yours say? So which one do you think is the processor? I'll give you a hint. Not the one that says graphics. Which one? Yep. So that is what your processor is. Intel Core i5 8th generation. And if you're like unfortunate Drew, you want a better computer, you may go and buy a more expensive processor, open up your laptop. Seton Hall will probably get pissed off at you that you did that, but you know, he's over there building laptops. He don't care. Business impact on computing. So we had a couple fintech majors, right? Mike, and who was the other? Unfortunate Drew. Did they touch on this at all in any of your classes with fintech? No, they don't mention like computing at all? Oh, you're still there? Oh, that's right. You guys are you're not all like Jackie where you know, done everything already. How about like general business classes, like management? Anybody have principles of management? Just Allie? You shake your head? Next semester? Anybody actually have it? No. How about like financial accounting? Anybody taken financial accounting yet? Erin, you have it now or you took it already? Did you learn anything about like business computing? Like the cost of computers for a business? No? What did you learn in financial accounting so far? Gap? That's it? Unfortunate Drew, you said you had it too? What did you learn? Did you have it already? You're taking it now? Are you in Erin's class? No, you're not. What did you learn? Just Gap? That's it? They don't use like examples of companies at all? You don't talk about like this. What does that mean? So you like never learned, it was never mentioned in any accounting class. Hey, we run a business. We might have to buy computers. That was never referenced. Like the cost, like, hey, we have 8 employees. They each want a $500 computer. Yeah. So what do a lot of businesses do? Do they make you pay for it yourself? No. They might give it to you, right? They might go to Dell and say, hey, we got 10 employees. Give us a bulk discount on your laptops. And they might get $500 laptops for 300 because they bought 10 of them, right? And then they give it to you and, you know, they load whatever they want on it and you have it as long as you're employed in that company, right? You get fired, okay, we got to take your laptop away. But computer companies themselves are concerned with the cost of making computers, right? So unfortunate Drew, you said you build your own laptop, right? Is that the one there you built or no? You built a desktop at home. Who paid for it? Mom and dad? Okay. So you didn't care what the parts cost, right? They paid for it. You had a limit. What was your limit, if you don't mind me asking? Couple thousand. So his limit was $2,000 to make a custom desktop. So what do you think he sunk his money into, JJ? It's apparently a gaming computer, you said, right? What do you think he sunk most of the money into? Graphics cards. Cooling system, okay. He probably sits at home and plays it 20 hours a day, because obviously he don't have to worry about this class. Highest scores on most of the stuff so far. Mike, did you buy your own laptop other than the one you paid for here at Seton Hall? What? You usually don't use laptops. You use your phone for everything. I don't want to sound like an old guy again. Back in my day, we didn't have cell phones. We had what were called satellite phones. So if I left the area where I lived, I would need a satellite phone to call. Then about 20 years ago, cell phones got introduced. And you've seen them your whole life. Well, maybe except Jackie. She might have had a couple of years where they weren't that readily available. Who wears clothes? How about shoes? Why are only half of you raising your hand? You don't wear clothes or shoes? What kind of shoes you have on, Leo? Vans? Where are they? Vans? What kind of shoes you have on, Leo? Yeah. Did I just call you Leo? I'm sorry, Reeves. Reebok? What do you have on, Johnny? Timberlands. What do you have on, Delbert? What? Easy foam runners? What do you have on, Drew? Reeboks? What do you have on, Chris? Nike? Where are all these made? China, Taiwan, Singapore. Why, JJ? Cheaper costs. So those Nikes you might pay 80 bucks for. Those Reeboks you might pay 60 for. Probably made in a factory somewhere for 70 cents. So why do they charge you so much for them? What? Name brand? Okay. What else? JJ again? They have to be profitable too? Well, what's the major cost? What? You need them? Okay, that's kind of a supply and demand thing, but what's the major cost associated with them? Albert? Shipping them, getting them from China, Taiwan, Singapore, over to the US, right? That's why the guy who is in charge of Nike, who started it, basically can throw millions of dollars at the University of Oregon every year, right? Because he's basically getting his money from your pockets. Same thing with your iPhones you're all paying for. Steve Jobs can just ride horses all day, every day, the rest of her life. Never has to work a day in her life, because you all made her father rich. And he died because he refused to get medical treatment, and she got all that, well, the majority of it. His ex-wife did get some. So unfortunate, Drew, you spent 2,000, or your father spent $2,000 on this computer for you. How much do you think the actual computer is worth? Worth, I said. Like if you were to sell it, just half that? You've beaten it up that much that it's only gonna be worth $1,000? How old is it? A year and a half? Okay, maybe depreciation. But how much do you think it actually costs to make that? All of the parts? Half of it? Probably like $300. Yeah. And you paid, or your father paid $2,000 for it, and now it's worth $1,000. See how this is important to businesses? So a lot of companies, I think it was 2 years ago, said we're not accepting like, shirts that were, cost 35 cents to make in Singapore. Name one of the companies that refused to sign that. Anybody know? Walmart. Because they sell maybe the shirt for $5 and their profit margin is like $4, but they sell so much that it doesn't matter to them because they're selling it all in bulk, right? Who's watched any of the news recently with all this chip shortage stuff? Just unfortunate, Drew, Leo, Albert. So what did that impact your lives with? Albert? Well, it could be your life personally. Okay. What else? What's another thing it affected personally? We have a couple gamers in class, right? How available are PS5s? Not readily available, right? What? You have 10 PS5s? You sold 9 of them?
Yeah, we're the one.
And I think some bill had to be passed to like increase the companies here in the US to like make more of them. I think Teslas and like Albert said, some cars these days also have them embedded in them. Who's ever had a programming class like C++, Java, Python? Reeves? No? Ethan, have you ever had a programming class? No? JJ, you seem to have done a lot in high school. Did you have a programming class? No? Mike, what about you? Say what again? Did you have a programming class in high school? No? What about you, Bree? No? You were busy running, right? You didn't pay attention in high school? You did? Paul, programming? Did you learn any? Not really? So years and years and years ago, COBOL was the programming language of choice. Literally, the banking system is built off of COBOL. You wouldn't have your phone to log into apps to check your balance of your banking account without COBOL setting the foundation for bank processing. What's the only place in the country that still uses COBOL? Reed, do you know, or you're just scratching? You don't know? Who knows? If you learn COBOL, you'll probably get a job the second you graduate. What's the only company that still uses it? Well, technically, it's not a company, it's a government agency. JJ? IRS? No. It's more local. Like it's probably 25, 35 minutes southwest of here. No guesses? Unfortunate Drew, you seem to know quite a bit. No guess? Probably like 35 minutes southwest here. Like kind of the middle of the state. The capital? Yeah. What's the capital? Trenton. So what's the government agency in Trenton that still runs COBOL? I just told you it used to be involved with banking. Siraj? Federal Reserve might use it. It's possible. But I'm thinking an agency in Trenton that is very poorly run. I think last year it got voted the worst customer service in the country. No guesses? What? Somebody over there guessed. Was it you, Chris? Somebody said something. Started with a D. I think. Oh, Leo said the DMV? No. There's DMVs all over the place. Well, not everywhere, but. New Jersey Department of Labor. Their unemployment system that fails every second of every day is run on COBOL. Then what does Visual Basic programming language do? Anybody ever see it? Basically GUIs, like graphic user interfaces. So you could use Visual Basic to make like a clock or to hit a couple buttons. C#, which is the C and then the number sign. C++ and C are all programming languages from about 30 years ago that Access is built off of, SQL's built off of. Then Java was big about 20 years ago. What's the last one I haven't mentioned? It's kind of Python. That's the big one now, which is much shorter as far as the code is concerned and easier to use. The whole point of all of them is to get giant lines of code from COBOL shrunk down to like 4 sentences, like Python may use. And programming can help you solve tasks. So let's say Johnny wanted to add 2 big numbers together. He could create a program to do it for him. And then there's certain tools that you can use to what is called compile programming languages. That means run it and make it work. Like Dr. Java, BlueJ, Microsoft DOS, and Eclipse. Who knows what Microsoft DOS is? Any of you old enough? No? Who's ever seen this thing before? Command prompt? That's Microsoft DOS. Back in the day, that's how you would have to compile C++. Now you download the software and it does it for you. Automation. Who knows what automation is? Matt, what's automation? Right. So do you have to think anymore, Leo? If you want to add numbers together? No, right? You just pull your phone out, you open the calculator, and you put the numbers in and it does it for you, right? That's automation. Drew, do you have autopilot in your car? No? Who has autopilot in your car? Nobody? Paul, are you raising your hand?
No.
No? Riley, you have autopilot? What does it do? Yeah, that's automation. It's something that does something for you without you having to really do anything. What else is automation, JJ? What? The Exorcist?
Lane assist.
Lane assist, okay. It beeps if you go over the line. What else? Owen? Your car beeps when you reverse? Okay. Does it show you the little camera of what's behind you? Okay, that's automation. What else?
The blinds.
Blind spots, okay. Reeves? Java? Technically, if you made a program in Java to do something for you. Austin?
Not like for me personally, but like I know some cars that like have their mirrors like turned in out.
Okay. Who's seen a Tesla? Just a couple of you? What do they do? That's automation. Self-drive? Yeah. Who's ever driven somewhere that you haven't been to before? Bless you. What did you do? Got directions? GPS, right? When I was your age, you'd have to Google the directions and print out what used to be called MapQuest. You actually know where you were going. And if there was traffic or there was, construction, you were screwed because you didn't know how to navigate. With your GPS, what happens? It tells you, oh, okay, there's construction on the left. Even though you have to go left, go right and then go around it. It might be 2 extra minutes, but avoid the construction, right? Automation. You probably all use like Uber or Lyft, right? So if you were getting picked up here from campus, which one would you use? Lyft? Why? Cheaper. Okay. What's the reason you would use Uber? Who has them on your phone right now? Who has Uber and Lyft on their phone? Open them up. Type Corrigan Hall, where you are right now, into each of them. See what happens as your pickup location. One of them has better maps. So it will actually allow you to choose Corrigan Hall as your pickup location. Which one did it, Reeves? Uber, yep. Anybody know that before today? So you go to any campus, at least in New Jersey, and you wanted to get picked up from a specific building, you'd probably want to use Uber. Because you could actually put in the building name and the driver will come right to the building. Whereas Lyft, they're going to call you, where are you? I got sent to this random place. Whereas like Leo says, for the most part, Leo's cheaper, or Lyft is cheaper. I almost said Leo's cheaper. That wouldn't have been positive for you. So let's say, Mike is no, you're not old enough, right? Let's say Jackie's going to the bar and she walked right out of here. She'd probably get an Uber from Corrigan Hall to the bar. But if she was going from the bar home, she'd probably take a Lyft because it'd probably be cheaper, right? Disk space and bandwidth. Obviously, the more disk space you have, the more data you can store, right? Mike, do you have a closet at home? How big is it? Decent size. Can you fit a car in there? No. Where can you fit a car though? Garage. So look at it that way. The disk space of his closet may not be big enough to fit a car, but it's big enough to fit like his clothes and maybe what else do you have in there, Mike? Yeah. Skeletons? The shelf on top, so you might have like a shoebox full of like baseball cards or something. You might have you know, like, I don't know, like high school stuff thrown in a box up there that you don't care about, but your mom wants you to save or something. Jackie's probably got all her awards thrown in her closet. The only thing she cared about was that check, right? What's bandwidth? Anybody know bandwidth? JJ? Okay. What does it do with the internet? You don't understand the question. Maybe let me rephrase it. What is bandwidth's relationship with the internet? Okay. It's your connection, basically. So if you, let's use the campus network here. What is there, like 21 of you in here with me? So that's 22. We're all in the campus network, right? Might be a little slow at times, right? Because there's 22 of us in here, and maybe there's 30 next door, and maybe 40 in the rest of the hallway, and maybe 25 downstairs, and maybe another 60 upstairs. Whereas Johnny's at home, he's the only one on the internet at that moment. What happens? It's kind of quick, right? So that's basically what bandwidth, the speed into which you can interact with your internet connection. And you all use your cell phones, like probably have unlimited data, right? So when you're connected to a network at home, it's quicker than when you're connected here on campus, right? And let's say you're in a random bar where there is no internet, or I don't know, let's say JJ goes up the street to the White Castle. There may not be as good as internet. Why? No guess? Okay. You're basically on, what do you have, AT&T? You're on AT&T's network. Wherever their closest satellite signal cell tower is, determines how quick your speed is. Right question? No? What's an IP address? Unfortunate Drew, what's an IP address? Your internet protocol address. So let's all click that link there. that says, whatismyip.com. What does your number say? Is it the same exact thing, or is the fourth number different than 7? What? Yours is the same, Riley? Everybody's is the same? So then that's probably the default IP address of the campus network. If you were in your dorm or something, that .7 at the end might be like .4 if there's 4 people in your apartment. It might be .52 depending on how many people in your residence are using it. What is the purpose of it? What is this, Drew? Thumbs up. What is this? Thumb? What does it have? What can you use a thumb for? Thumbprint for your DNA, police record if you have one, to find out who you are, information about you. If you die, that's what they look for. They take your thumbprint. Who is this person? What if your thumb was chopped off or burnt off? What do they use? Teeth. Same thing with an IP address. Where is this person? Who is this person? Also determines what your internet company is. So you may have Comcast, Verizon, etc. Radio frequency identification devices. Your phones, right? Who has tracking available on your phone for when you use your Uber and Lyfts? Technically, there's a chip inside it that's a radio frequency identification. GPS settings on websites. So actually, my other class is doing websites for their classes they did. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. It's already 3:13. These kids don't like this class. And you could embed your location into your website. So in this example, it's a company out in Chicago of my one young scholar in the other class's mother. It shows exactly where it is. You can click directions and a pop-up will show up. Oh, how do I get from Seton Hall to Chicago, Illinois? To go to that specific company. Like I said, it allows consumers to see how to get to them. Future trends. I mentioned Charles Babbage and how computers used to be the size of entire rooms. Based on everything we know, computers are going to continue to get smaller. Most of you have a pretty small computer, right? Your phone. What? You hit Reeves with a table?
Yeah.
Open source. So technically, if we wanted to in this class, we could use open source for Excel and Access instead of what we actually use. Well, what is open source? It's free, readily available software for you to use. Like SQL can be open source depending on which one you go with. because it is built from source code. So, Drew, has Instagram existed your entire life? No. Right? When did it start? 2016? Around there? 2010? What started in 16? Oh, Twitter. Somebody made this stuff and it's just readily available for you, right? So it could be software, it could be something on the internet. A lot of the other kids I've had mention this thing, cool math games. You go on there and you can play games. That's open source too. Somebody decided to make it for you and just make it readily available to you. SEO stands for search engine optimization. So what's the first thing that pops up when you Google sports, Owen? Some stories about the World Cup. What about links? Yahoo Sports, ESPN, Fox Sports. So the ones with sports in the title show up because they paid for a domain name with sports in the title to get their domain name at the top of that list. ESPN uses what's called SEO. They put like 4 million meta tags related to sports inside each of their pages, publish them, and over time, a bunch of people have gone to their websites, other people link their stories, and they've climbed up that list. So even though they don't have sports in their domain name, it's just ESPN.com, they're, what was it, the second or third result? Some people pay for this process. Other people do it organically. If you decided to take 3730 next fall, you'd learn more about that specific process. Web 2.0 allows individuals to create content to publish online. What's a Web 2.0 type thing, Reeves?
Like a blog.
Like a blog, okay. What's something you use? I just mentioned it started, and somebody mentioned 2010. What is it? Instagram? What's another one I just mentioned that started maybe in 2016? Twitter? What's another type? I guess technically TikTok is, but it's an app, right? You can only use it on your phone. You could use it on a computer? Okay. Then technically it's Web 2.0. JJ, you have another one? Spotify? The content would be what for Spotify? The music, right? Whereas the others I mentioned, it could just be text and pictures. Johnny, what's one you use? None that have been said? That haven't been said? You don't use the one that starts with F? Do you use it? No. Facebook would be another one. Blogger, like Reeves said, a blog type company. What else, Chris? Who's heard of WordPress? WordPress websites would technically be Web 2.0. Internet usage. You get your phone bill, maybe electronically these days. It shows you who called and how much you used, right? Like on my iPhone, every Monday at 10 in the morning, it gives me a little alert. Oh, your usage was up 6% from last week. So it shows you the usage of your apps and information on your phone. Same thing can be done with your internet usage. Through your history, and any other specific tools you might be using on your computer. So Reeves goes to, you said you're a Raptors fan, right? He's going every day, how can I get tickets once I get home? What are their home games during break? That's going to show up in his search history, right? Mike's search history may be a little more awkward and he might not want other people to see it, right? Right? No? Or you don't know? No? You'd be okay with Owen looking through every bit of your search history? On your personal computer, not this one.
Yeah. This is my main.
You don't use any other computer?
Well, I'm back with at home, but.
Okay. Unfortunate Drew's probably the same way, right? Unscrupulous websites he visits. Doesn't want people looking at his browser history. Drew's probably only goes to Blackboard and downloads stuff from this class and his other classes, right? No? What else do you do? You go to ESPN too, right? To check scores and stuff. I'm so annoyed with the Commanders yesterday. Literally the Thursday night game and every other 1 o'clock game yesterday I got right. In my little picks I do at the beginning of the year for one of my sports blogs, Commanders Giants tied. But now I got 2 losses in the late window because I thought my Niners would lose to the Dolphins and I thought the Rams would beat the Sea Chickens, but got both of them wrong. And I got the Colts Cowboys wrong last night. So what? Yes, I thought that Matt Ryan would actually try this year. And so I predicted them to win their division. Yeah, I'm a realist. Like
He's not really. That was his retirement ceremony.
that was his retirement ceremony.
That's why.
I didn't like that the owner decided to hire his drinking buddy now, but nobody seems to like that. Austin, did you have a question? Who's playing? Probably the Bucks. I don't have my paper with me. It's in my job chest at home. But not bad. I started off going like 11-5 the first 2 weeks. Then it's kind of been okay since. The whole predicting the Sea Chickens to go 0-17 didn't help matters, but. All right, so I have a disclaimer here. See the bottom here where it says add notes? You click that little button there that says notes. For most of the slides, it also has extra info if you want to look through it. Social media, we just basically talked about. But I want to talk to you about private isn't private. What does that mean? Albert? Okay. That's technically true. The people that like work at Instagram can see everything you do on Instagram. The people that work at Apple can technically see all the pictures you have on your phone if they chose to. So like Mike's taking inappropriate pictures, he's sending to people. Somebody at Apple can be like, why does this guy have like 8,000 blocked numbers? And they could go on your phone and like look through, oh, he's sending text messages that are not appropriate. So the main point, well, there's 2 main points to this. One, I used to teach all the time when I taught a similar class to this at Monmouth University. Google yourself. Literally Google your own name and click up on Google Images. And you'll see like, if your name is like diverse enough, Like my name, it'll give you like 25,000 other people with my same name. But if your name is like specific, different enough, like Reeves, if you Google yourself, click on Google Images, and stuff from your social media will pop up. Even if you have your accounts like private, things of yours will pop up. So like JJ's name is, too common. When you do it, there'll probably be 8,000 different things that come up. Paul's might be common. Aaron's is probably too common. Paul, all your TikToks pop up. Allie's might be too common. Austin's is way too common. That's what I mean, way too common. So I tell you, only post stuff your mom or boss would approve of. So like Paul said, all his TikToks popped up. So if Paul's like running around his bedroom with like a toy plastic gun or something, and his boss or mom finds that, and they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? The other thing is, who goes on public Wi-Fi when they go to like Dunkin' Donuts? JJ, why? Sometimes you don't have money?
I don't have my Wi-Fi. I can't connect my phone.
Okay. Why should you not do that? Because it's a public internet connection, and when you agree to the terms that they have you like, oh, click accept to join our network. These companies are absolving themselves from anything that happens to you. So you go in there and somebody hacks into your phone and steals all your info. Well, Dunkin' Donuts basically told you, hey, it's not our problem. You agreed to our terms of service, which ties into mobile security. Make sure your phones are password protected. Be wary of free Wi-Fi without a password. Read the terms of service or limit your use of free Wi-Fi. So hopefully JJ, if he goes into Dunkin' Donuts and does that, it might be like once a month, once a year. He's not doing it like for 7 hours a day. Avoid spam emails that are phishing. You might get an email, oh, your Amazon account has been locked because of suspicious behavior. Click this link and log in. And you click the link and it goes to like bobdole.com instead of like an actual Amazon thing. That's what's called phishing. If you're dumb enough to put your password info into that, they now have your password and login information for that website. You have to go and change it immediately. All right. Hopefully we can now get through homework 10 quickly because that took longer than I thought it would be. So the IT concepts quiz down the bottom here, you download this PowerPoint, you answered the 25 questions. You have, after class, Johnny's going to remind me to open it, and you'll have till Sunday night to do it. Unlike the SQL quiz, where you had to type things in, this is multiple choice. There's 4 options for all of them. I think the majority of them, there's one really stupid choice. So you basically can eliminate that from the top, meaning there's only really 3 choices. All right, so download that Spring 17 Excel template file, and we'll try and go through all of this real quick. Once you've opened it, it should look something like this. So we're going to quickly go over in this Excel homework how to use charts or recommended charts, the date function. We've already showed you how to combine data from two worksheets, so we'll do that again quick. We'll introduce pivot tables, sort and filter, conditional formatting, and then we'll once again do a kind of what we did the first 4 weeks with Excel. Type in a bunch of stuff, do some formulas. Everybody ready? All right, so for number 1, it says display an appropriate graph chart for the data in worksheet Q1A. So highlight your data here in column A and B. Click on the Insert tab and click the giant button that says Recommended Charts. What's the first one that came up for everybody? Scatter? What's the second one? Line? What's the third one? Stacked area? Go ahead and select that third one, stacked area. And once you click OK, it should show up somewhere in the middle of your page there, like this. So what's the chart site title stay for everybody? AMT of inventory, like mine?
Yeah.
So click that and change it from AMT to amount. So click where those words are. It'll give you that box and change it from AMT to amount. Okay, click out of that, save it. You're done with 1A. We're now asked to do the same thing for worksheet Q1B. So highlight your data, insert tab, recommended charts again. What's the first one you got, Reeves?
Clustered column.
Clustered column? Everybody got clustered column? Let's do the first one this time, clustered column. What does your title say? Annual sales? Mike, does yours say annual sales? Let's change that from annual sales to car company annual sales. This way we're a little more specific. And click out of that, save again, and you're done with question 1B. I just clicked the giant floppy button here. You could also do Control S. You could also do File, Save As. You could also click the autosave from off to on up top left if you choose. Next, it says the question 2 worksheet displays coupons you own and their expiration date. On the Q2 worksheet, For each coupon, display the number of days from today since the coupon expired in column C. For each coupon, display the date it would expire if you were given an additional 60 days to use it in column D. Who's ever used the date function in Excel before? Anybody? For those of you that are kind of lost, I'm just following along the questions that are right below that. So who's used date function before in Excel? Nobody? So we do equals date. We need a year, a month, and a day. So what is our year? What year is it? 2017? 2022. What is our month? December, which is what? 12? What is our day? 5th? So put in 05. But that just tells us today's date, right? How do we get the days since the expiration date? Mike? Subtract it from the expiration date. And then what? We got to put a parentheses behind B2 and one in front of D. What's your answer, Reeves? Almost there is not a number. 2135. Everybody got 2135? So click back into that and auto fill down for the other two. And it tells us the number of days since the expiration date for the coupon code. So you've now done 2A. For 2B, we want to find out what the date would be if we added 60 days from today. How do I do that? Aaron? Everybody heard that? Use the date function, put in today's date, and then add 60. But what do I have to do yet? Opening parenthesis before date, close parenthesis after the 60. Now what date do I get it, Johnny? February 3rd, 2023. Why is it February 3rd and not February 5th? Owen? Not all months have the same amount of days. How many days are there in December and January? 31. Reeves?
Well, I think it was 2023, 02, 03.
Just came out the way every other country does it but us? Yeah, that's fine. If it bothers you, you could just right click, format cells, date, and set it up like that. Then we'd auto fill down. And why are they all the same, Johnny? All we're doing is adding 60 days from today. So save that, and you're now done with all of question 2. So number 3 says in worksheet Q3, enter a formula in cell B2 that adds the value of cell D5 from worksheet Q4 to the value of cell A2 in worksheet Q3. That's a handful. So we've done this before. It says B2. So we click over to B2. How do we add two things from separate worksheets, Mike? Equals. Click on the Q4. D5 plus. Go back to Q3. And then click on A2. And what's your answer? 87,365. What? Can I do what again? Mike, walk him through it again. Equals. The Q4 worksheet. Click on D5. Then do plus. Go back to Q3. Then click A2. And then when you click enter, you have what is the answer? 87,365. And that should be in cell B2. And then save and you're done with question 3. All right, now we're going to start and do a simple pivot table. In the next 2 questions, which we'll go through more advanced next week and do some queries off of the pivot tables. Everybody's done with Q3? All right, so the first pivot table says for the data in worksheet Q4, display the highest salary for each job in each city. Your answer should appear in a separate worksheet, which you should name Q4 ANDs. How do I get a pivot table? Mike? Insert. It'll be in the top left here. Pivot table. You just click that. What's our table range? Highlight columns A through D. Now, do we want existing worksheet or new worksheet? New worksheet, because I said we need to name it Q4 ANDs, right? So we click OK, and the new worksheet pops up. Right click where it says Sheet 1, rename Q4 ANDs. Then press Enter, and it changes the name for you. So we are, Sheet 1 is our new worksheet. When you did the pivot table, click New Worksheet instead of existing worksheet, and it pops up with a new worksheet that says Sheet 1. Right click, rename Q4 ANS. Everybody there? Gabby or Sophia, question? So down the bottom here, it says Sheet 1, right? Right click that, rename to Q4 ANS. Ethan? The data source reference is not valid? You got that too?
No, I was gonna ask you.
Okay, So click on worksheet Q4 where all the data is. Insert, pivot table. It shows up with no table range. Just click the top of A and scroll over to D. So it gives you the table range A through D. Then click new worksheet. Is that what you had for your data, Ethan? Then when you click OK, a new sheet on the bottom here shows up that says sheet 1. Right click it and rename it Q4 ANS. So did you retry that, Ethan? Just highlight the letter A and then move across to D. And hopefully it gets rid of that issue. And then you open something that looks like this. Did it work?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are asked to display the highest salary for each job category in each city. So what do I do? Has anybody done pivot tables before? Are you just watching the YouTube video?
I did, yeah.
Okay. What do I do, Mike?
Click on city.
Click on city. Okay.
Sorry.
And do I have to do anything else?
I access that.
Right. So once I've clicked, what was it, city? City, job category, and salary. See down the bottom here where it says values, it says sum of salary. We have to click the caret next to that and select value field settings. And change from sum to max. And then when you click OK, we get the max now instead of the sum. So see how the sum right now just adds all the money together? So it's like 670,000 for technology. Now it's just going to give you the max, which might be, let's say, 75 grand. But no, it's 123,292. Everybody got that? Bree, you got it? Drew, good. Drew, good. Albert, good. Yeah. All right, so save, that is now number 4. Now number 5, we're also going to do a pivot table for. It says in worksheet Q5, display only those employees whose city is Chicago or Seattle. So we click worksheet Q5. There's technically 2 different ways you could do this. You could do it with filter and sort. I'm going to do it with a pivot table. Mike, how do we do this? Click on pivot table after insert tab. Highlight A through D. Did I say to? No, for this one, you don't have to. This one you can keep in the existing worksheet. So it might put it in a location that's like lower down, so you might have to scroll down. Where did it put it? Yeah. So it put it down off to the side there. What does it say? Display only those employees whose city is Chicago or Seattle. So what do I do now, Mike? Okay.
City.
So we click the caret by city. unselect all, and then just select Chicago and Seattle. So only they have the check marks next to them. Can I repeat what stuff? You click employee ID and city, and then the carrot off to the side here by city gives us this little pop-up. And all you click is Chicago and Seattle. All the other ones should be unclicked. Good. Good. Then when you click OK, you just have Chicago and Seattle. The other way you could do that is through what's called sort and filter. So you'd click column B where city is. Click this A to Z with the little fan next to it called sort and filter. And you click the filter button. And it gives you a little caret next to city on the actual Excel worksheet itself. And you do the same thing. You'd unselect all. You just click Chicago and Seattle. And then OK. And everybody who works in Portland, New York, Detroit, Los Angeles now disappears. And they're gone. See? It's only Chicago and Seattle. So either way is perfectly fine by me. Save that, and you're done with question 5. It's fine if you made a new worksheet. Because technically it's actually easier to see in a new worksheet. You don't have to scroll down. But I didn't explicitly say it in the instructions, so. All right, 3 more to go, plenty of time. In worksheet Q6, display employees in ascending order of salary. We did this in Access, but not Excel, right? Sorting. Okay. So click on Q6. What do I say? Display employees in ascending order of salary. So which one do I have to select for salary? Like, we select column D, and then what? Sort and filter button. Smallest to largest. Right? That's ascending. You're going up. You get a warning, right? Expand the selection. So that just sets it up to where everything now sorts ascending. So we make sure that all the columns now, when they're changed, match up when you go through the sort. And now we see everything's linked up and matched with the lowest salary. $45,948 used to be a pretty good salary. These days, not so much. All right, so now you save that and you're done with question 6. Now, question 7 is also something we've not seen before, called conditional formatting. JJ, did you learn this in high school, conditional formatting? Unfortunate Drew, you probably already know this, right? No? So conditional formatting is basically used to find, in a lot of cases, you might have a bunch of data in an Excel file. Conditional formatting almost always is used to check if you have repeats of data. So let's say I wanted to find, like, through this class roster, how many Drews there are. How many would I get, Drew? 3, if I typed in your names the way you wanted me to call you. But 2, if I didn't know you wanted to be called Drew, right? If I was your other horrible professors who don't even know your name, right? So it's basically the query way for Excel. So it tells us in worksheet Q7, format cells A1 to A5, A45 rather, so that cells with values between 35 and 60 inclusive. What does inclusive mean? That you're including 35 and 60. Have a light green background and darker green numbers. So what do I do? Mike, since you've apparently watched the video already, what do I do?
Conditional format,
Click on conditional formatting. Where?
middle of the
In the middle over there on the top. And then what?
middle.
New rule. Then what? Format only cells that contain, the second option here. Then what? Where? Where it's blank? So the first blank is what? And the second blank is what? Okay? And then what? Then go to format. Then what? Color? Where's color? Right here?
Yeah,
Okay? And then what? Is this the light green or the dark green? It should be dark green numbers. So for font, it should be a dark green. So I don't know. I picked the bottom one of the greens because that kind of seems dark. So that's olive green. Then what, Mike? How do I get a light green background? How do we get a light green background? Do we click number, border, or fill? Paul? Border gives us a border. You got 2 other choices, number or fill. Let's go back to Paul, redeem.
oh,
Fill. And then you pick from the color wheel one of the light greens. I don't care. Maybe the one in the middle. And then what, Mike? Click OK on this screen where our color wheels are. And then a K again for our conditional formatting. Did it do anything? No, right? Why didn't it do anything, Mike? Mike set us up to fail. Why didn't it do anything, Mike? We didn't select anything. You have to select column A first, and then do all of that. Good job, Mike. And when you go back through, fill comes up first. So make sure fill is the lighter one and font is the darker one. And then click OK twice, and now it'll actually work. Because we did this most important step that Mike missed. Yes, Sophia? Your what? Your formatting doesn't look like, this is the format. This is the conditional format. Oh, you have a Mac?
When you wrote like classic, and then you wrote format on top and bottom. No,
So on a Mac, there's like,
format.
there's, I think it's the fourth or fifth. Do you see it? What's the button? The third button down? It says classic?
Press classic.
Yeah, but how many buttons down is it? There should be, instead of format only cells that contain, it says something about a range,
Yeah, I just.
highest to lowest. Reeves, do you see it?
Yeah. Page centers.
35 should be the low and 60 should be the high.
And that's.
What does it actually say though, instead of formats only contain?
It says format on cells.
Oh, it isn't higher or lower?
Is it cell value?
Yep, cell value between 35 and 60. And then you do the same thing, click that format button and make one light green, one dark.
Format on cell that. You select cell value.
It used to say just higher or lower instead of that. But now you have to click classic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Style.
okay. And then you can just click format just like I can. And change the font to the dark green and the fill to the light green.
It comes like preset.
So you can't change it?
It has like a drop down that says like green fill with dark green tag, yellow fill with dark yellow tag.
Okay, so pick one of them that has the greens. So it's right underneath here, like it, instead of the preview, it's got a drop down,
Yeah,
and then just pick green and green.
Green fill with dark green text.
Okay, green fill with dark green text, pick that one. And then once you've clicked OK through it, what happens? For any of the numbers in between those, you now have green on green, right? Green on green crime. Eagles beating down the Jets. Green on green crime. Okay? So that's number 7. So save that. We're down now done with number 7. See why this is 100 points instead of just 50? Because it's more involved and we're doing more. One last thing to do. And next week it should be much shorter with just the goal seek and pivot tables to do. All right, so worksheet Q8 is just blank. So, you know, we're gonna go back to our roots like we did the first couple of weeks of typing stuff into a worksheet and doing formulas. So question 8 says, assume your salary is now 70 grand. Your total annual spending is as follows: food, 12,000. So you're living off of like ramen noodles, you're not going out much. House payments, you're making monthly mortgage payments on a house that costs 610,000 with a 30-year loan at a 4.8% interest rate. Your utilities cost you 2 grand a year. Your auto expenses are 3,400 a year. You can tell how long ago I did this with the price of gas these days. You want to save $16,000 per year. You have an opportunity to lower the interest rate on your loan. What interest rate would you need in order to reach your savings goal? Place your formulas on worksheet Q8 with the new interest rate in cell C2. So this is using goal seek as well. You'd see how this used to be like an exam. So what did we do the first 3 weeks, JJ, that everybody hated doing? And we turned words into stuff in the Excel worksheet called what? It started with an A. You're blank. It's probably the first 3 letters are probably what Bree calls unfortunate Drew all the time. What? Owen? Assumptions. What are the first 3 letters of assumptions that Bree calls unfortunate Drew all the time? Right? So in A1, I put food. That's not A1. In A1, I put food. In A2, I put 12,000. A2. Oops. A2, I put 12,000. In B1, I put house payments. In B2, I put $610,000. I didn't just like the dollar sign. Oh well, fix that later. In B3, I put 30 for 30 years. In B4, I put 4.8% for our interest payment. I then skipped C and went over to D1 and put in utilities. And in D2, put 2,000. Then in E1, I put auto expenses. And in E2, I put 3,400. In F1, I put salary. In F2, I put 70,000. In G1, I put savings. And in G2, I put 16,000. So now you're halfway done. We want to find out now what our actual housing payment is. So go over to C5. Now, what formula did we use for payments? PMT. Which first needs rate, which is what? What's our rate? What? 4.8. Our B4. Then a comma. What's our N per? What's our N per? What? B3, our 30 years. Since we're doing this annually, we don't have to multiply it by 12 or divide it by 12. Then another comma. Now what's our present value? Obviously, the only thing that's left. B2. 610,000. And then close parentheses. Are we done? What do we have to do to it yet? Paul? No. No. We got to multiply it by something. By 30? It's currently a negative number. What do we have to multiply it by? Blake? We just put a negative in front of the PMT. When you multiply a negative number times -1, it becomes a positive of itself. What number do you get, Mike? You jumped ahead?
Yeah.
You naughty, naughty boy.
38,000.
$38,781.32. So now in cell C6, we want to determine if our salary covers all of our expenses. So in C6, we do equals F2, which is our salary of 70 grand minus all of our expenses. So A2 plus D2 plus E2 plus what? What's the last one? What did I forget, Reeves? C5. Cost for the house. Do we have enough? Do we make enough money to cover all of our expenses, unfortunate Drew? You just didn't set up your assumptions yet? Damn, son. What is the answer? What did I get? Allie, what did I get? $13,818.68, correct? Reeves, you got that? Everybody got that? Bree? F2 minus, inside parentheses, all of our costs. A2, our food cost, plus D2, our utilities cost, plus E2, our auto expenses cost, plus C5, which is our house payment for the year. Did you put the second part inside the parentheses? So it's F2 minus everything added in the parentheses. Yeah? And you got a negative number? Did you type everything in right?
C6, my fault. I put C5.
So that would have subtracted itself, and you're lucky you didn't fall into the matrix. Why? She had the wrong numbers in?
I fixed it.
Okay. So now we got to use goal seek to find out what we need to lower our housing interest rate to in order to save 16 grand a year. Right now, we only got a little under 14 grand saved per year. So go ahead and copy the formula from C6 and post the formula into cell C2. So that now the same number there from C6 is in C2. Good. I click cell C6 and I click inside the formula bar here. I highlight all of it, Control C to copy. I press enter. I go up to cell C2 and I do Control V to paste it inside the formula bar and then enter again. And it now shows up for C2. Why? Okay, right click it, format cells, currency, 2 decimals. All right, Mike, since you already watched the YouTube video on this, how do I use goal seek? We click our data tab. Make sure cell C2 is still highlighted. We click data, what if analysis, and then goal seek. Not scenario manager, not data table, the one in the middle, goal seek. And you have this little weird looking box that pops up that says goal seek set cell to value by changing cell. So there's 2 things we want to change. We want to change our C2 to 16,000, right? So do I need to change anything in the set cell, Mike? So the set cell should say C2. Then what goes in the to value? We want to change it to 16,000. What goes there? 16,000. And then the by changing cell needs to be what? Which is where? So we click cell B4. And it automatically makes it absolute, which is perfectly fine. So what happens when I click OK now? What happens when I click OK? The percentage changes. What else? What else changed? Didn't C2 change to 16,000? So C2 changes from $13,818.68 to 16,000. And our 4.8% changes to the new interest rate, which will allow us to save $16,000. And what did it change to? 4.31. Leo? If you click on the data tab, over here, it should say what if analysis. You click that and it gives you three options. Goal seek is the middle one. Mike? You got a negative number for percentage? I don't either. Did you take out the absolutes? Did anybody else get a negative number? Undo and try it again. Because nobody should get a negative number. It kind of like pretends to compute after you click OK. And then it should give you the 4.31%. And also change C2 to 16,000. Now, Mike, you have your formula in C2, right?
Yeah, my phone.
Okay. So if you finished with that and didn't get a negative number, you got the 4.31%. You're done with homework 10 for Excel, and you could submit it onto Blackboard as you finish it up. But it is due Sunday night, so you have the rest of the week to finish it up as you need to. So now, like I said, the IT concepts quiz. Johnny's going to remind me to unlock it right now. That should be available for you to complete until Sunday night. Like I said, it's 25 multiple choice questions. Literally just open the PowerPoint I went through earlier. There's 4 choices to choose from. For most of them, one is pretty ridiculous. And that's it. All right, young scholars, I will see you next week for our last class meeting.